How not to travel like a dumbass. First thing, wherever you land, okay, and you get settled in and all that good stuff, assess conditions. Look around. Don't talk a whole lot. Just look at your surroundings, how are the people behaving? How are they dressed? Are they conservative? Are they low key? Are they laid back? Are they loud? I'm talking about in general, not picking out one or two people, but in general, what's the mood? Okay, that's the first thing. Kind of, back to the when in Rome. That always works. Okay, that's the first thing that you should do before you do anything else. What they're wearing is pretty important too, believe it or not. If they're very conservative in the way they dress, let's say you're in Nepal, right? And the folks there are very conservative, very friendly. Most people, when you're traveling about, they're very, very friendly. So you can't gauge on that. But if they're, be mindful of that. And so if you're going to trot around in your bathing suit, I mean, come on. And these are the things that's very uncomfortable because you don't want to be tolerated. You want to come across as a global citizen. Isn't that what we all want? Because you got to keep in mind that what they see, they're not going to necessarily point it out. And we have to keep in mind that in America, the good old USA, individuality, being different, even being kind of crazy, that is praised. I mean, if you act really crazy, you'll either be locked up or you'll be on the Jay Leno show. It's either way. It's like a little lottery, but it is what it is here. But when you're traveling, and not just necessarily overseas, you can just be in another state, be mindful of how the people are acting. But I'm particularly concentrating on traveling overseas only because the cultures can be pretty different. And so I just cringe every time I see, unfortunately, a lot of dumbass Americans when we travel, and we're just loud, and we think that if we go to a bar that it's appropriate to get drunk, they may not get drunk there, believe it or not. Take a moment to see what is the atmosphere there. There are certain places where they get even more drunk than us. Hey, go for it. But what I'm getting at is, what happens when we assume, right? When we assume too much. So get a feel of your surroundings. Uh, Really, really important. And don't think that when you have this urge to maybe, climb their Buddha, or you know, you decide to throw a rock at a temple for whatever crazy reason, that the U.S. president's going to bail you out. You have to keep in mind that those coverages, those stories, those mega stories, that's one incident, and that is extremely rare. So people sometimes get this idea that, oh, we're big and bad here in the United States, so we're protected. You're going to be surprised, and it'll be a rude awakening, let me tell you. The thing to keep in mind when talking to natives in a foreign land is always try to say something more on the positive end rather than saying something more on the dumbass end, which something like this. Let me give you an example. So let's say you're in Africa, for instance, right? And we're just bombarded with advertisements here, and all we see is what? A safari, right? Day in and day out. So if you're not sure what Africa is going to be like, because I get that, going there with an open mind, you might be surprised to know that they're very, very advanced, right? I mean, they have a city just like we have a city here in the United States. I mean, and so anyway, so the best thing to do is to go, wow, this, you guys are even more advanced than us. Something comparable to that rather than, oh, I thought you guys still, lived in huts. I didn't know you had cars. You see the difference? One's positive, one is a dumbass. So I say this because I've had African friends tell me that because of the little bubble that we live in, believe it or not, that we will say things like that. Now, things are changing a lot, thank goodness, because people are getting exposed to YouTubers. who are filming things in different parts of the world. And it's so cool because you start to realize that, places like the Middle East, that they do live, they do live. They go to the store, they have a family, they're very advanced in technology. They're not just fighting all the time because that is what we see on television, right? That's all they do is they fight. I mean, they do nothing else. And so you forget that there's a big fat world and people are living every single day. And what we get bombarded with is just a small uh, piece of what's really, really going on in the bigger picture. So always keep that in mind, and I hope that will help you. Well, thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.